You think I'm the villain of this story. Maybe I am. But I didn't start out that way. They called me a genius, a pioneer. My name stood for trust, for success. People didn't just invest with me, they believed in me. They wanted to be part of something bigger, something extraordinary. And for decades, I gave them exactly what they wanted, or so they thought. The truth is, it started small, a miscalculation here, a promise I couldn't keep there. But when you're at the top, failure isn't an option. I couldn't afford to let anyone down. So I made a choice, a single decision that snowballed into the greatest financial fraud in history. The numbers on their statements, fabricated. The steady returns, an illusion. I took new money from eager investors and used it to pay off the old ones. It worked like magic. People thought I was invincible. They praised my genius, never questioning how it was possible to outperform the market year after year. I told myself I was buying time, that I could fix it, but the truth, I didn't know how to stop. The more people trusted me, the deeper I sank. The illusion became my prison, and I became its master. They all wanted a piece of the dream, and I made sure they got it. But dreams don't last forever. You think this was all about greed? It wasn't. It was about proving myself. Growing up, I wasn't the smartest kid in the room, but I knew how to work harder than anyone else. I watched my parents struggle, their dreams crushed by a system that didn't care. I vowed to never let that happen to me. I wanted to rise above it, to be someone people respected, admired, maybe even envied. Wall Street was my ticket. It was ruthless, yes, but it rewarded ambition, and I had plenty of it. I started with nothing, no pedigree, no connections, just grit and the belief that I could outwork, outsmart, and outlast everyone else. I didn't just want success, I needed it. I needed to prove that someone like me could beat the game, and I did, at least for a while. The returns were real in the beginning. My firm was a legitimate powerhouse. But the higher you climb, the harder it gets to stay at the top. That's when I made the fateful choice. I wasn't chasing yachts or mansions. I was chasing a legacy. I wanted to be the man who never failed, who never let anyone down. But ambition can blind you. I started cutting corners, then bending the rules, and soon enough, I wasn't running a business. I was building a mirage. It wasn't greed that fueled me. It was the fear of falling back to nothing. Fear that if I stopped for even a moment, the world would see me for what I truly was, a man trying desperately to stay afloat. The lie was perfect until it wasn't. By the time I realized the system was collapsing, it was already too late. But here's the thing, I didn't stop. I couldn't. People depended on me, their life savings, their futures. How could I tell them it was all a lie? I convinced myself that I was protecting them, that if I just had one more year, one more deal, I could make it right. But deep down, I knew I was only protecting myself. The machine I built was unstoppable, but so was the weight of keeping it going. My motivation became my prison. I wanted to be the man everyone trusted, the man who never failed. And that's what kept me going, even as the walls closed in. Every fake statement, every smooth explanation to investors. It was all a desperate attempt to keep the world from seeing the truth. And the truth? I wasn't invincible. I wasn't a genius. I was a man so consumed by ambition and fear that I let it destroy everything I touched. The house of cards came down because it had to. I knew that day would come. I just wasn't ready to face it. Success isn't freedom. It's a leash you tighten around your own neck. As the years went on, the pressure became unbearable. Investors were pouring in billions, and every single one of them trusted me completely. They called me a financial genius, a visionary. That kind of faith, It's intoxicating. But it's also suffocating. I couldn't let them see cracks in the facade. Failure wasn't an option. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the thousands of people who believed in me, the charities, the foundations, the retirees who put their entire futures in my hands. Their trust became a weapon I used against myself. Every month, when it came time to deliver those statements showing steady, impossible returns, I felt the weight of their belief in me. I wasn't just fabricating numbers, I was fabricating hope. And when you're the one holding the strings to people's dreams, it feels impossible to let go. Even if you know those strings are fraying. The truth? I didn't want to stop. Not because of the money, but because the illusion of success became my identity. Who was I if not Bernie Madoff, the man who could do no wrong, the man Wall Street envied? Admitting the truth felt like admitting I was a failure, and I couldn't bear that. But I wasn't succeeding. I was drowning. And every decision I made was another step deeper into the quicksand. The truth doesn't knock. It kicks the door down. I'll never forget the day my sons came to me demanding answers. They weren't just my family. They were part of my legacy, the very thing I was trying to preserve. And in their eyes, I saw what I had tried to avoid for decades, the inevitable collapse. I could have lied to them. It would have been easy. But I couldn't, not to them. The weight of all those years, all those lies, came crashing down in that single moment. I told them everything. And just like that, the empire I built, the persona I cultivated, was shattered. The FBI, the media, the investors, they came like a storm, tearing through the life I had constructed. And for the first time in decades, I felt something strange, relief. Relief that I didn't have to keep lying, keep pretending. But that relief was short-lived. As the world learned the truth, so did I. I wasn't the man I thought I was. I wasn't a genius or a visionary. I was just a man who let his ambition turn him into a fraud. And now, in the aftermath, I'm left to confront the one thing I can't escape, myself. Ambition doesn't just build empires, it destroys them too. As I sit here, stripped of everything I once held dear, I've had time to reflect on the man I became. Ambition wasn't my enemy. It was my greatest gift, but also my greatest curse. It started with a simple desire to succeed, to prove myself, to be someone my family could be proud of. But somewhere along the way, that desire turned into an obsession, a need to be untouchable, unstoppable, immortalized in the world of finance. I didn't start out intending to deceive. It was one misstep, one compromise, one justification. Just this once. I'll make it right later. But later never came. One lie became two, and then it spiraled into a web so complex, even I couldn't see where the truth ended and the fiction began. I can't ask for forgiveness, not from my investors, not from my family, and certainly not from myself. But what I can do is offer a warning to those chasing success, to those who think the ends justify the means. Stop and ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? For me, it was everything. My integrity, my family, my freedom. And in the end, what did I gain? Nothing but the bitter taste of regret. There's a saying that the higher you climb, the harder you fall. But they don't tell you about the silence after the fall, the echo of your own choices ringing in your ears. That's the true punishment. Not the prison walls, not the public scorn, but the knowledge that you built something incredible, only to burn it down with your own hands. If I could go back, would I do it differently? I'd like to think so, but ambition is a fire, and when it burns too bright, it's hard to see anything else.
Wow.